Amen. Say man, it's your boy Big Dreams. Welcome back to the channel. Before we carry on, when further with this video, make sure y'all like, make sure y'all comment. Most importantly, make sure y'all subscribe and hit that post notification bell. Say it to all. We is back with another banger video, back with another reaction video, man. And today, y'all see the screen, we are going to be reacting to Gene Deal gives his final thoughts and shocking verdict prediction in Diddy's trial or the dialogue. We finna dig in here and see what's going on. I'm not gonna make the opening of this video too long. All I ask is that y'all smash that like button so this video can rank higher in the algorithm. Go crazy in the comments. Let me know what you want me to react to. And if you're watching me and you not subscribed, man, subscribe. That's all I ask. We finna go ahead and dig in, man. And with this video, y'all, I'm gonna try to talk as least as possible because I really want to hear what he's saying. But I'm still gonna give my opinion on some things. Make sure the volume all the way up.
All right, man. We at the end of the trial. I gotta ask you. We waiting for the verdict. What's your prediction, man?
I'm gonna say this first, brother. That nobody knows what the jury decision is going to be. Nobody. And for me to have a prediction like I got a crystal ball or I want something to happen, I'm going to tell you my predictions, but I want to say this first, if you allow me to. This journey didn't start in 2018 when I came to YouTube and I started talking about Bad Boy and Diddy and his character. This journey started right after the Notorious Big was murdered, and even before then. But me conversating and talking about Diddy in the streets of New York was verified by somebody who actually came home, and that was Roger Bonds in probably 2007 or 2008, because Roger Bonds was a dude in the street getting money or whatever, and when he came out, he was given a job with Bad Boy. So I'm just going to leave that part. He clarified it in the Bad Boy camp because he's the only one other than me that has came out and spoke about any of this stuff. So when I start talking about Puff character and the dude that he was, it was after Big got murdered. Even though I was still working for Bad Boy, I still was talking about who this cat was. Like I tried to tell y'all, they needed me more than I needed them. A lot of these guys who come on this internet, they don't know. But they don't know that I was a New York State parole officer. I ran Elite Investigation. I ran Tiana Towers, Eastchester Housing, Tiana Towers, and Lampert Housing, doing the security teams around there. I ran clubs, the Mirage. You understand? I did the security. I did a lot of things. I helped guys in the street change their life, reintegrate them back. And Mighty, just give me a minute, brother. Just give me a minute, because I want to get this out, bro. Because, because a lot of people is going to say, like, yo, after Puff and this trial thing goes on with Bad Boy, the Gene don't have a story. You understand? If these people would read my books, if these people would do interviews and talk about a lot of stuff in my book, they know I did a lot of stuff in the streets to help guys get out the streets. People want to shut me up and people want me to be quiet because I tell guys it's all right to go to work every day. It's all right to get your education. It's all right to be somebody positive in the community. It's all right to hang out with dudes who call themselves street dudes, and you ain't got to be a street dude to do it. I'm living proof that you ain't got to be in the street hustling and everything. And you ain't got to be in the street knocking somebody in the head and stuff like that. I'm living proof that you could go to work, home, and take care of your family. So now, I came here to this internet to talk about this dude's character. It's nothing I said that could have landed that dude in jail. Any of those secrets would probably die with me. There's nothing that I said or I've heard anybody else say until the federal government came in, because nobody knew, Mighty. Nobody knew before the federal government came in and hit Puff with those charges that any of this would have ever happened. You could not tell me, nobody could predict that this dude would be sitting on trial for his life. It just wasn't in the cards. And now that this thing has happened, it's made YouTube a lot of money. It's made content creators a lot of money. And everybody is talking about something that we started. Way back with Wisdom Clear MREC, you took over and took it to a whole nother level. Everybody is using it. Everybody is saying that it's Gene Deal's fault. It's Gene Deal who did this. Cassie and a couple other people now, since the federal government got involved in it. Nobody could predict what will happen, but I'm going to tell you what I think is going to go down, brother. Because a lot of has gone, and a lot of people who wasn't at the trial or didn't hear the prosecution do what they did would think Diddy might be getting off.
Okay, now since we done made it this far in the video, let me say this one thing, and I'm going to keep this short because, like I said, I don't want to talk too much. I want to really hear what he got to say. What I feel like Diddy might get a light to moderate sentence. I'm not surprised in any direction that this verdict goes, because every angle, whether he walks or whether he stays, is a possibility. I feel like he's going to get a light to moderate sentence. The only way he's going to walk, he still has friends in high places. Those friends in high places would be the reason he walks if they decide to pull strings for him. If they decide to pull strings for him, I feel like that'll be the reason he walks. But I feel like he's going to get a light to moderate sentence. He offered a huge amount of money in the beginning, along with all this other stuff, and made up his own terms that he'll follow. They turned that down. We done made it this far to the trial. A lot of stuff might not have made it in, but what they do have, I guarantee y'all, is stuff that they know for a fact that they can say he's guilty on. So I feel like he's going to get that light to moderate sentence. That's what I feel.
A lot of people think that Diddy might be getting off because they don't know the letter of the law. The prosecution, let's start with them. They did a great job. They did a great job in explaining what sex trafficking, the 11 charges. The 11 charges, well, it's 4 or 5 charges, but they got different, like sex trafficking, then paying a prostitution. Under sex trafficking, they might have paying a prostitute, transporting prostitution. They got different checkpoints, and that the juror's going to have to go through to check off whether this guy is guilty of the things they're saying. The RICO law, they have different statutes of the RICO law that the prosecution had to prove, as well as racketeering. You know what I'm saying? All this started by what I said. the character of this gentleman. The character of Puff, what he has done over the years to people, had nothing to do with Gene Deal. So now, the prosecution went in there. They explained everything that Puff did. Diddy, as y'all know him as. Everything he did as far as the drug trafficking, having people bring him drugs, having people kidnapped, taken from their home, sitting up for hours in warehouses being given polygraph tests, beating of women, holding women over balconies. They prove that he bribed witnesses, tried to give certain people money. I guess it's not a bribery since there was no criminal charges, brought up prior to that. That's what the defense tried to say. But offering people money, selling lawsuits, things that he wasn't supposed to be guilty of, but he quick to settle them, quick to offer people money. The prosecution did that whole thing. They went through that whole gambit. Ain't nobody paying nobody no money if they ain't guilty of nothing. Not him. It was a lot of things that the prosecution did their job into showing us. Not only this guy's not a good guy, this guy behavior is detrimental to society. We can see that. We can see that because we know other things that he has said and done that didn't even make it to the trial. I look back on all the original charges. They could have went at him a whole lot of different ways. And I was wondering why they only did 4 or 5 charges. Why they didn't get into tax evasion? Why they didn't get into, it's a lot of things that they could have got into, but they didn't get into that, brother. And I'm wondering why. I'm wondering, is it because he got friends in high places still? That's a possibility. We wouldn't be here with the federal government if he never had made those people mad, bro. The federal government been knowing about Diddy for a long time. For a long time. You got people coming out saying now, I've seen Suge on your program, said he was a federal agent. I've been told people that. That I know him and Kirk Burroughs was taking paperwork down to the federal government. I've been knew he was going to D.C. I did a show on that. It's a lot of things that's going on here. There's a lot of things that you see. Even when people thought that the prosecution was letting up by having the predicate acts and the predicate charges dropped, and people was going in, he getting off. No, they did that to make the case more better for the jurors when they look at it. And it doesn't give him an opportunity. It may give him an opportunity, but it lessens his opportunity for appeals when they drop the attempted arson, attempted kidnapping, attempted this, that, and the third. When they drop those charges and say, no, he did do it, it makes it easier for the jury to read. And
okay, let me say this real quick. With the case and the jurors, the judge included too, what's gonna determine his verdict is the case itself and how they feel about the monstrous stuff that they heard in the trial. I feel like that's going to be the determining factor more so than the case itself. The monstrous, horrific stuff that they heard people say that he did to these women, as far as sexually, the whole Cassie video and things like that, that's going to be the determining factor for the people who have to decide what his verdict should be, rather than what they have on paper itself. If they let this man go, they still have to keep in the back of their minds, bro, what if he come after us? Like, that's his history. He's known for getting at people. What if he come after us? What does that mean? That's gonna be more of the determining factor rather than the actual case itself, if you ask me.
Instead of have to say, oh, well, they got attempt here, and then they got he did it here. Did he attempt it or did he didn't do it? You understand? The jury don't have to go through stuff like that, brother. You understand? So now, the prosecution, what they did was they laid out everything this whole past week. And they put it into play. And here we go. We got the defense. The defense who did Diddy dirty. He paid them all that money for them to tell him, literally just say, okay, Cassie got $20 million out the deal. She's not a victim. These people came back to work because they loved them. What they didn't understand is that you had a guy that was in power, and he wasn't really a music mogul no more. He was selling alcohol. He was marketing. What music he sold in the last 10 years that would make him a multi-millionaire? He wasn't a music mogul. They was trying to pull, yo, this music mogul. No. He was doing a whole lot of other things for those folks out there. And when he showed and bit the hand that fed him, he got himself in a whole lot of trouble. We wouldn't be here if it wasn't for him. He did this to himself, and his defense didn't help him. Well, they got in there. They made these stories. They said these things that, okay, these people loved him. Cassie got paid. They even went as far as saying that one of the girls that he was dealing with, Joan or Jane, that had a baby by another person in the music business, that he was taking care of the dude's son. Everybody know that's a lie. Everybody know that that's a lie. But that's what the lawyers are getting paid for. They lied when they said Cassie loved it and wanted to be there. They lied and said that everybody who was there loved him so much. They even asked one of his chief financial advisors on the stand, doing cross. The prosecutor called him. That was Derek. I remember Derek from back in the day. We used to write them invoices to him. If he have, I check the next week. Derek was given a slew of questions about Diddy, he is a workaholic. He makes you do your best on everything. He has a project in front of him. He completes all the projects. He does what he's supposed to do. And then the defense asked him, well, would you say Mr. Combs is a good man, a great guy? Derek got quiet as a church mouse.
I can imagine.
And didn't say nothing. This is somebody that worked with him for years. Didn't say, and the defense said, strike that question, let's leave that alone. So now, everybody wondering, the defense, who they gonna call? Who they gonna call up to the stand? They couldn't even call Ghostbusters. Man, listen here. Nobody. You know why they didn't call nobody? Because they didn't want nobody to be crossed. It ain't because that the defense did a terrible job. I mean, the prosecution did a terrible job. They didn't prove their case. If they didn't prove their case, those motions to dismiss would have been thrown out. The judge would have been like, yo, you really listen here. Y'all right. Them motherfuckers ain't proved nothing. Those motions to dismiss would have been granted. If the prosecution didn't prove their case, those motions that Diddy and them put in to dismiss the case would have been granted.
But see, let me say this too. His defense, and I can imagine that if I'm thinking this, his defense is thinking this as well. You can't call certain people up there to lie for you anyway, because y'all for a fact know that you shouldn't dig into certain things. That you shouldn't call people up on the stand and talk about certain things or even try to think about lying on certain things. Y'all self know that if you call somebody up there and you ask him, hey, well, would you say Mr. Sean Combs is a good guy? And they say, yeah, y'all know for a fact that they would be lying. That's why I feel like they ain't called nobody up there. They just left it alone and said that, they didn't prove their case. They already knew there is absolutely nobody you can call who's finna sit up there and lie in front of the judge, in front of all these people, and try to say anything other than the truth. And think that the prosecution not finna come across them and then twist everything up what you say and all this here to get the truth out of you or to make you choke on the stand. They already knew that. They knew that.
Now, was these cases stretched as we know by RICO, as we know by racketeering? They could have been stretched, but they still was the law. They came in accordance to the guidelines of the law so the prosecution could charge them with it. And the defense didn't fight that. They took to fight against the witnesses. The prosecution, I think they had about 34, anywhere from 27 to 34 witnesses. So the defense went at them, the ones that they could. Because somebody offered you $100,000 for a tape. How you gonna get mad at me? That's your dude who offered me the money. I ain't turning down nothing but my collar. So all those things that they should have went at of and tried to get witnesses, they dare not to. They dare not. Like they were saying, my client might go on a witness. He might be a witness too, Your Honor. Speaking about Diddy, his narcissistic ass would have got bombed on
There's nothing
by those
he can
6
lie
white
about
girls.
or anybody else
The
can
6
lie
fat
about.
girls.
No.
I bet they drink Budweiser. But those girls would have tore his ass up, his narcissistic ass, because he was going to have to explain everything he did. So, you know, why you hung over the balcony? Or why you choked her? Why you threw apples? Why you threw a glass? What makes you so angry? Do you think people want to have pee in their mouth? Do you have a sick fetish with lubricant, baby oil? He would have to explain all of that. So they couldn't have put his ass on the stand. He couldn't even defend himself. He wouldn't have been able to defend himself. This whole thing has been crazy. His daughters and them broke down and crying in the courtroom, leaving out. Who does that to their kids, bruh? This dude ain't the same dude that came into the same game. This dude ain't the same dude that partied in New York City when he had Bad Boy in New York City. All these guys come on this YouTube and they want to blame security for his character. They want to say security had something to do with it, allowed him to do this and do like that. I ain't never seen not one officer and not one of those events that he was in the street with. Puff had a lot of sense. He didn't do his dirt with NYPD, with parole, corrections, or none of us who worked for him. If he did his dirt, he did it with those street guys who were security and that showed up and came up in the trial. They came up in the trial. So now, none of the security that was police officers or had government credentials came up in the trial, bro. D-Rock, Paul, Bonds, Remy, street guys. Say hello to the bad guy here. Because you want to make me out the bad guy. Because I'm going to tell you the truth and I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. My prediction on this, what I believe that's going to go down, the trial, if it happens before the 4th of July, he might have a chance. If it goes after the 4th of July, that means those jurors are taking their job seriously. They have went down and took the judge's instructions and said, we're not going to let this MF go unless we're sure, unless we're positive. We're not going to put him back on the streets unless we know for sure that we could be safe. They're not going to find him guilty if it happens before the 4th. If it happened after the 4th, I predict that they're going to find him guilty.
And listen, I wouldn't be surprised on what I'm about to say. I would not be surprised if they still hold him because they fear that they're not going to be safe if he is let free and they have to go back home, be with their families, and worry about their well-being on top of that. I won't be surprised if that's a reason that's thrown into it as well, knowing his history. I would not be surprised if that's one of the leading reasons on top of the case that they have to go through as to why they choose to hold him and why they choose to review this case even further past the 4th of July. Because I would imagine that they not finna try to rush in these next, what the day is? Today is July the 1st. I would imagine that in these next 2 to 3 days, they not finna rush and just come up with a decision just like that. Nah, they gonna take it to pass that. But I wouldn't be surprised if the people themselves say, know what? I think he should, you know what I'm saying, be given some type of time for one, to pay his debt to society, and two, because I feel for my life when I go back home. I need to know that I'm going to be safe when I go back home. And I don't feel like I'm going to be safe if this gentleman is let go knowing his history. I feel like that's going to play a big part in this whole verdict too.
Now, Mighty, you might want to say, well, that's not giving me your opinion, G. You're not telling me what you really think, but I am. I spent 27 years of my life, man, trying to keep guys out of jail. I spent 27 years of my life trying to tell dudes this is the right way. When I was with Puff, I would do the same thing to him. No, bro. Nah, let's move. Don't do this. Let's get involved. Nah, let's move from here. Let's go. That was my job. Not only to protect him, but protect people around us from the bull. I would never, ever let him do no dumb shit. Not to women, not to even his own mama. This is crazy out here. This dude, I know. I know because I know. I know because I know, Mighty. He don't belong in society. He need to pay his just dues. And I hate the fact that his daughter, his kids gotta hear this, gotta go through what they go through, because they gonna love their father if, ands, or buts, or supposes. They love their daddy, because that's their father. But to hear all the monstrous that he did to women, whether they let him or not, it's got to wear on them. It's got to hurt their heart. Those kids now, Mighty, the courts don't care about that. Justice is blind. She got that blindfold on her. Who told the best story? The prosecution told the best story. Who made the best sense? No matter how big, how little it is, the prosecution made the best sense. They told the best story. But it's up to the jurors now. The jurors got to decide. They're not going to be looking at her family dynamics. what those little girls gonna think, what the other public is gonna think. If they do the right thing, they're gonna think about the job and the task they took on and do the best of their ability. Did the prosecution prove their case? Yes, they did, Mighty. No matter how minute we might believe or think it is in our community, they proved their case. This dude ain't a good dude, bruh. This dude did to people that he loved. Stopped them from getting certain jobs. Saying things to other people to get people hurt. I used to wonder why Heavy D used to grab that little nigga by the throat, by the back of his head, and like pull him in the office. Heavy, here's something. Now, I don't care who was doing security. When Heavy D came around Puff, and he grabbed this little nigga and brought him into an office, Puff was a Biggie, Mace, had all those big artists. When Heavy heard something bad that happened and he didn't did it, or said something or did something to somebody, Heavy would grab that little nigga by the back of his throat and rush this nigga in the office. And nobody might never seen Heavy like that. But Heavy would have hurt him. He didn't play those games. And a lot of y'all don't know Heavy D to be that type of person. Y'all think that dancing, that rapping stuff like you, I got that own thing like that. Nah, Heavy he had that street in him. Money earning Mount Vernon, the Young Guns. They all represent Heavy D. Heavy had some kind of power over this cat. It seemed like when Heavy died, Wolf died, this nigga just went bonkers, haywire. So does he have a defense? He don't have no defense, bro. We seen that. He ain't had no witnesses, because cross-examination would have tore their ass up. The jurors, the jurors seen 34 witnesses from the 27 or 34 witnesses from the prosecution to go through another 10, 4, 5 other witnesses that he maybe could have brought, or he should have brought, or would have, could have. They didn't want to see the prosecution tear their ass up. So they rest. They rest.
And that's exactly what would have happened too. Prosecution would have cross-examined them like a mug, knowing that they know the truth, knowing that there's other proof in other places outside of the trial that can clarify, you know what I'm saying, what they would need to cross-examine them about. So I know in the past that I done said stuff, but like now that Gene Deal break it down, bro, it makes a whole lot more sense. It make a whole lot more sense as to why the defense didn't call no witnesses. Because there's nothing the witnesses of the defense can get up there and lie about, because cross-examining them would be a piece of cake for the prosecution. Makes a whole lot more sense now. The prosecution could have told them to pieces.
Now Diddy is going to go somewhere and rest too. The only thing that's going to save him for doing a whole lot of years is that pre-sentencing, based on the categories in which they fall up under if he gets the RICO. At the RICO, he could get life. That's what they trying to avoid. They praying that the jurors don't give him the RICO and the racketeering. If he just get the sex crimes, the judge going to hit him with the, I guess the right terminology would be the full extent of the law, based on the category, based on this being his first federal, he didn't get charged in D.C., but I don't know how he worked that out with that little that happened in D.C. back in 91 or 90. No, it was 90. That little stampede, and I don't know what he did to work that off. But when they go back and see that this is his, let's look at, this might be his first criminal charges and everything like that, the judge is going to hit him with the full extent based on the category. Now the lawyers, they're going to go in there and they're going to argue this, that, and the third about his time. That's what they're going to do. But they praying that he don't get the RICO. They praying that he don't get the racketeering. The sex trafficking was completely proven by 27 sex workers flying in and out, having sex with Cassie and Jane, and being paid to have sex with Cassie and Jane, and doing all kinds of crazy busting they man juices on these women for him to lick it off. I don't know that. I don't know him.
You said he don't know
this
him.
Diddy is not the Puff that we knew, or he was hiding something that we didn't even know. This is a crazy thing, Mighty. It's real crazy. And it's going down. It's coming to the end. And this is the first time in our life. Now, we've seen this shit happen to R. Kelly. And did R. Kelly deserve all the time that he got? I don't know. Wasn't that his first time or this, that, and the third? And he got all those years for that? I don't know. But this is the first time that we've seen a mofo that God gave him the ability to be a dream chaser turn into a nightmare maker in front of our eyes. He made a lot of nightmares for motherfuckers. And it's time. It's time for him to pay up. It's time for him to pay up for the DC stampede. It's time for him to pay up for the City College tragedy. It's time for him to pay up for Craig Mack, the notorious big Black Rob, anybody that he took from, anybody that he sit up there and say, well, I just did the same thing that Sony and Arista did to them. No, you wasn't supposed to, bruh. You wasn't supposed to. You were supposed to teach those kids the right business so they can take care of their families. God gave you the ability to chase your dreams and bring people in there to help them. You turned everybody that you touched. You made them have nightmares about you, bruh. And now, You didn't have a defense. Cats can say what you want to say. I rest my case.
So you personally, and I know it's hard to say, but if you had to pick, what charges do you think they're going to get him on?
If I look at what they have a clear-cut charge on, is the transportation of prostitution.
Yeah.
They have a clear-cut charge on transportation of prostitution. The RICO, which has the violence, the drugs, they have the drugs and the guns. They have those charges too because they found the guns in their house.
I was just finna say, I know they got that proof.
The physical violence, which is basically domestic, I don't think those are federal charges. It just shows the action. The racketeering, using his businesses to pay for drugs, using his businesses to pay for prostitution, using his business to bribe witnesses and potential witnesses. I think the racketeering and the prostitution, transportation and sale of the prostitution, that's what brings on the RICO.
Makes sense.
It all plays in together.
Makes sense.
But I think it's a solid.
So, in other words, hold on, let me let this finish out.
Paying the sex workers and everything. And paying for the drugs with the business. I think that's solid as a rock.
So in other words, they can still possibly hit him with a RICO. See, look, that's why I like watching Gene Deal give his opinion and his thoughts rather than Dr. Umar, Suge Knight, and all these other people. Because Gene Deal gonna give it straight how he knows it. Not saying Dr. Umar don't know it, not saying Suge Knight don't know it, because Suge was around during that time too. But Gene Deal was the security. So he would know if Puff was fiddling around with the feds, or if he wasn't informing himself. For real, like he would know stuff like that. Gene would. But listen, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments. This is the end of the video. Make sure y'all like, make sure y'all comment. Most importantly, make sure y'all subscribe and hit that post notification bell. Set it to all. All social media links will be in the description. The link to the previous reaction video will be there as well. Follow me on all my social medias. Click the link to the previous reaction video and watch that whole video after you watch this whole video. Don't forget the link to the second channel will be in the description as well. Go over there, click that link, subscribe, and show love because y'all will be seeing my face over there from time to time. But listen, I love y'all and I appreciate y'all for showing me love back. And we out this thing, man, for real.